Subscribers of my channel uploaded this video. Now I want to shoot a video on it. It will make it darker if necessary for assembly. VAZ 5-speed gearbox, that is, VAZ 2107. Well, in principle, it is not installed on any model. Matters, so let's start with the assembly of the secondary shaft. So let's say now we'll install gear onto it. Then install it all secondary primary intermediate, install it in the middle part, install it the front part, and finally the rear part of the fifth gear and reverse gear. So well, I'll break the video into several parts to make it easier for you, and leafing through and looking means, well, look at the defect, look carefully at absence of teeth. The surfaces should be smooth, large, play well, by and large. The bearings also need to be looked at. So that the teeth are not jagged and there are no signs of wear on them, in principle, by and large. The forks are subject to wear and tear. The gear shift often wears out. Well, let's show you as the parts are installed. Where to look everything. Here we have our secondary shaft. The secondary shaft is attached to 3 and 3 pinion gears at once. 3 speeds here is attached. Well, the first one comes right away. This is the third speed, which means it's very easy to distinguish the gear. The lower the gear, the higher the gear. Roughly speaking, the largest is the first. A smaller gear is the second, an even smaller one is the third, and the smallest is the fourth gear. This is already on the primary shaft ST, the bearing is out. That means we're starting to dial. Gears are placed in such a way that they fit between the synchronizers. Overrunning clutch, 2, nothing complicated, don't fool me. How come nothing is the same thing, I asked. It doesn't matter. Which side to put them on? They are absolutely identical. Why this was done, I don't even know if it's possible there, to be honest. Well, how? It would be put at least like this. At least it doesn't really matter. Look carefully at the wear. Let me show you right here. It will be seen this is the so-called E-synchronizer. This is copper. No, what is it? Not copper, bronze. Probably the washer is like this with teeth. We look at the leatherette as you see here. It should be like this. It is cut in half over time because of this constant movement. It is looking carefully. You can see everything. The teeth are in place. Well, it would be immediately visible if the STU do something. The washer would have been hit. It doesn't matter. It's not for speed. Effects again. We look at the gear defect. This is minor wear. Well, I drove on this box. In principle, I didn't knock it out. Although, by and large, it would be better to change it, but again, it all depends on money and price, you see. Yes, it turns out this edge, which is closer to here, you can see it is white, but it's worn out. It should, in principle, be the same both from the beginning and at the end of the gear. Well, in principle, everything is clear to put together with this. So we put the gear in third. Oh, what second gear now? This is the gear we have. We put it on the grooves. This is what we need for engagement of the overrunning clutch. Overtaking on it is worth overtaking. The same is set. Overtaking is set. Well, it's kind of the same. On both sides, it doesn't matter how you put it. Now let's put the first gear. Before overtaking, everything is placed in the direction of overtaking. Synchronized, everything is placed in the direction of the overrunning clutch. Well, in principle, we have an auxiliary shaft like this. We have it assembled, third gear, second, first, accordingly, it goes. Well, sort of. Gears are considered. You understand more or less in a very small 6. It's very easy to understand all this, so there it is. We need no bearing. Come in here, we have a bearing now, we stop putting the retaining ring on it, everything has become so far. So let's take off the ring now, look like this, let's take it off carefully. It's easy. It can be removed too, it doesn't matter which side it is placed on. We have one groove on the bearing, this is our bearing. Secondary shaft bearing. The secondary shaft bearing is not the same as the primary bearing, therefore, well, they're different, as it were. We won't need all this bearing, put the bearing on the outside of this very rear part of the middle part like this. We will continue the installation, which means the secondary shaft is inserted from the inside, nothing complicated about it. How about it? How to say the long edge goes to the side, you see here we have a reverse guide for the fifth. The gears come out in this direction, everything starts to be inserted, we stick to the better side, we put it on the fourth in. In principle, I was not knocked out by overtaking, more or less now, during installation, we make sure that we didn't fall apart, it's the whole thing, well, there's nothing complicated there, no such super dexterity or skill is needed, 2 seconds. You're suffering and everything will get up, there's a rise, what's there? So we put it on. Bearing well, it's clear, for the most part it goes into the body, into the middle part of the box, we put it on. It's being dressed all the way now, it's there and we're putting it on right here with us. Here's a needle type bearing. Well, for now, press pause, now I'll take it. We can take the lubricated one right away, you can lubricate it with oil. Well, in principle, the oil will probably leak out. It's still unknown how long I've had. The assembly process will take place. I'm better off, it's better, it's worse, it won't be lethal later. No problem with grease, just lubricate it, install it and install the secondary shaft. No. Wait, the secondary shaft is our primary one. Well, let's continue assembling our box now on our Q installation of the intermediate shaft primary secondary we installed. Guitar means look now, don't forget one more thing. Install the gearshift forks. We're not installing switches yet, but we're installing the forks right away, which means they're wearing the forks, and you see here. Wears out here, it has a coating on the metal fork. The coating is some kind of copper coating there, Let's say so that it wears out less, how to say anti-friction probably means that. There, we choose the fork that is less worn and put it in fourth gear, which means the forks are the same. Interchangeable, well, exactly those that are the first, second tray, fourth gear, you see, yes, with the hole up, that is, here. We introduce it there, you can see that we introduce it, in principle, it will go down there, not fatally, we do the same with second, let's probably do it right away, and it's a set shifting of the front will not be very convenient, in principle, so let's go. So let's quickly go through the car. We have 3 types of gear, first, second, third, fourth, reverse, fifth gear. Well, here we go. 5 speed, which means we will need them during installation. These are the ones we have. These are 2 of them. Chono 2 barrels, you see one is larger than the other, smaller one is getting mouth. We are placed inside the fork hole. One thing you can't confuse is visible everything. Let's install it. I pre-lubricated it with litho so that it doesn't jump out. We'll insert the forks now. That means look, we immediately insert the fork for the first shift of the first-second gear. The same thing, nothing complicated. In this process, so put it like this. This way, this is the bottom one, it turns out this way. Look, I'll explain quickly now so that it's clear. There are cutouts. Here are 1 2T cutouts and 1. The cutout turns out this cutout will go into it like this. At night in these holes the ball will go in accordingly. Our balls will fall into these holes. The barrels will be between these 100 centuries, otherwise you will not. Make it clear that these holes turn out to be outward. There will be 3 holes to look at in. 2 will look inside. Well, basically, now you can see. I think that's all, and accordingly here. We get into the fork itself immediately inside. It's very simple, everything here. It becomes here we have inserted. Yes, inserted. You can, in principle, immediately attach a bolt with a bolt. We have a special bolt. We have 3 of them. Here it is a special bolt grove something, some grover crushed here. We're looking at his growers so that we have some kind of poor raw with the normal ones. Well, it seems good here. The connector has special bolts, so I don't recommend putting anything in there, otherwise it could end badly, so we install and tighten our bolt right away. The key here is 10. We will need quite a lot of force, so don't be shy about pulling there. In my opinion, a kilogram of effort, well, again, without fanaticism, because our bolt can be torn off. So it's like with kindness. In the morning say keep in mind everything is there. Now let me tell you now. Look, if you look like this you will see what is below. Distance. This distance is greater than the upper distance. I think it's visible. Yes, yeah, so right away we put the barrel which. Lower it more. Look at the barrel. It doesn't matter anymore where this slot will be. This is for oil access lubrication. In short, the barrel pushes it through the pushing hole. Yes, there is something thin there, where it is stuck, and oh, it just sticks right through the hole with. It goes from top to bottom. It's clear it will pass there now. It passed and became, or it fell out. Cool, look, we'll do it again. Let's do it. Lubricated to cling to the Lato Chico. Lubricated to simplify installation and try to sink it. Well, some kind of wire was installed with a twig. Yes, it's obvious. Yes, here we need this one. We carefully guide this barrel and it comes in here, you see. Yes, he came in, so the center of it is as it should be, so that he gets into this hole right in the chest. Insert the second SHK. See the same thing. Let out 3 holes. The only thing now. We look carefully so that it doesn't fall out and it won't fit if we serve it properly. What about everything went well? We look carefully, so that this little thing doesn't fall out of us. Well, the internal barrel is all right here. Smotric is starting great. Everything is becoming great. We are installing a short barrel. So we continue to install the gear shift rod, which means I showed you the wide ones first. A long barrel, then a thin barrel is inserted into this very thing like the rod itself. Inserted. Secure the fork bolts. We have all 3 bolts the same. I'll show you. Let's show you. All the same length, same diameter, M61 standard thread, but the thread is not cut. Rolled, respectively, a regular bolt. Don't try to put it in there. It can be fraught with everything. Tighten the tightening forces here. Kilogram D in my opinion quite well enough. We can pull this same thing. Well, without fanaticism it would be possible to rip it off, although, to be honest, I don't remember it breaking. Well, if you want, you can do it like this. Now we only have our small jar. We insert it and lubricate it first so that it doesn't fall out, so that this doesn't happen. Well, it's easier for you to install the same thing. On top there is a through hole, slowly pushing the nails through. You see, I fell. I trampled him. It's okay now, we're all. Let's do the main thing. Don't rush and don't do it on the sand because, well, again, I'll repeat myself. In principle, repair kits like these are sold with these special barrels. There is no insurmountable problem, but apparently. Yes, he climbed in. Yes, he climbs all over there and he ends up in this groove, which is the only one we saw there, remember? Yes, yeah, that's it, and we put the last rod here. We have a rod with a fork in reverse and with a fork. To 5th gear, well, the 5-speed gear is so different. I probably won't screw on the 5th gear yet. We just need a rod. Insert. So now is the moment so that all this stuff of ours does not fall out of us. We are now taking the heel until we screw it on. Turn it over onto the tank like this. You see, we have everything. Everything is in place. They all have fallen into place as they need to, as they should be. Here's the 5th one. Just check it so that it's visible. Look at the EU. It'll be visible. That's how they walk in. The hole matches more like this, like this, like this. Now, well, you'll be able to see through these holes. Okay, everything will go. Now let's take everything and throw it in each of the holes. Balls, but you understand, there are 2 holes for bolts, they are not threaded. Sink, nothing complicated, we insert everything. The balls, in principle, could be lubricated with nano. Well, by and large, it doesn't matter, and we put on the springs. We have springs here too. I repeat once again, look, the 2 springs are the same. Here they are, 2 of them go together a little. It differs both in color and length. It's visible. Yes, yeah, in short, those 2 go to 1st, 2nd, 3rd. 4th gear, well, it's clear, but the rear gear here, it is a little different. The other one is also nothing complicated, as it were. Guess it's even purely intuitive that 2 are installed as standard, because there's no difference there, but the back one is there, although, to be honest, I saw that they put everything there that was basically the same. They are stretched in the hope that it will not be knocked out. By the way, this does not give anything. Do not change places there. Already the gear and overtaking means everything is just a replacement, otherwise it will be knocked out. Thursday everything is now installing this plate. When we now install the plate we already have ours. That our tricks won't work out, but what's all this? We'll put everything on, we'll tighten our pressure plate. The plate won't miss either, it will somehow stand like a crook, you'll understand that something is wrong. Twist it on. The other side is not scary well, that is, it will turn it upside down and top naga in short, as it should be, it's right away. We tighten the efforts, there is no need to make frantic efforts, here we get bolts without engravers at all, without washers, due to. What are the springs? What are they called? How can I say what they are called, these springs? The shorter springs put pressure on the rod, due to this it does not get out, so from the rod we figured out what they are called, rods. Gear shift rods install shaft secondary intermediate shaft is installed. A small gear for first speed, well, for a large one. A big one for a small one. It's like, well, you can't put it any other way. Yes, well, maybe not elementary, I've already done so much today. So bearings, they're of different diameters. Look, you have one. There will be a bearing of a smaller diameter. He's the only one that can't be confused, but this one is much larger, so he's just won't get up any other way. I really hope he gets up here. Oh, you see, he's getting little. In front everything is at the bearing sliding fit. If he doesn't want to climb you can use something like this. Such as a rubber mallet or a wooden riser mallet. But in principle it's not necessary to do this. Well, by and large. Well, I think it won't hurt. We tighten the bolt here. The tightening force is large, a kilogram, in my opinion. I'm right now. I don't remember either 7 or 9, but this is quite a lot, so we make efforts normally, so from souls if an irresistible desire arises to use some foreign object. This is how I do it now. Using we look so that the folk object does not break the box for us. The folk object is not damaged. Wants to fix the box properly. Now let's try to fix it somewhere on the other side. And I know why I just don't. I installed the bearing on this side and it works for me. It's just a bearing, then we'll have another. Time to install it until it stays there with us. We will now tighten this part, oh, just like that. It will work. It means the tightening force is quite large. I will repeat there 7 or 9 kilograms, well, in the book. You can have a better look with a metric wrench. And even better. That's how I just did it. It's all so bad. Tighten it. It is advisable not to break the box body and not break off the teeth on this. In short, now I'll probably cut out this porn because this 9th position has already tired me today. I still managed it, I hope so. Now we're all done installing the front part of the box. We've finally reached. This will be one moment on how to correctly install the thrust ring. Here is ours. The ring is persistent. It should stand like this. You can see now, you see it is conical. The cone should. Press the bearing and due to the force well, spring, how to say what to call correctly. The process is shorter, so our bearing will be constantly be in tension. It will neither rotate in the landing nor move axial movement. It will not have Will perform its functions as it should and will be fixed in an aluminum case as it should. Well, in general, everything is with it. It will be good, so we lubricate the gasket with sealant, although in principle you don't have to do this, new. So now in the front part of the cloud well, where I'll probably embed the correspondence from that day. You can't remove everything for now, so install the second bearing. We've already tightened the front one. Part now we put the bearing on the backside. Here we have another ring. Comes with bearing, that's it now. We install the thrust ring, but it will not allow our bearing to unscrew and install the gear. Well, while we put the retaining ring on the pallet, we put on this adjustment washer. It can be worn on either side, because it is the same on both sides. The groove for the oil is made. Now take our fork, take fifth gear and reverse, and we will put it on. Now we combine the fifth gear pull block, put it more precisely on the fifth gear overrunning clutch, and like this. We insert in this way. At the same time, when this entire structure reaches the guide, put on the reverse gears and put on the reverse gear, so here we combine a pause in the music. Put the profit we dress, we combine more precisely here, the overtaking should be combined along the slots. Put on the sun, this is the movement, and finally insert the gear in the back. Transmission and fifth gear, we tighten the bolt, immediately we tighten the bolt, with a force of 7 kilograms, a fairly large force means look, I have the inner race of the bearing on here. This is the bearing you see. Don't forget this is important. The bearing remains in the housing. It's just the case of the back cover. You see it in. I was burst, crashed, they cooked it. Well, you can see a little of it there. It turns out to be a tight fit. I didn't even bother to knock it out. In principle, he will get dressed and everything will be fine. Seen, well, often. I have often seen how he bursts in this way. The lid bursts, the box is too low, it bumped into a stone, it's all screwed up. Well, it's a mess, you can brew it in boiled form. There are no such roofs, so now we will tighten in order to tighten. Let's do it the way we love through this like. His anus can be a horse. This is the Sun Marum Lum SPO. Out of stock right now, so we'll make it like this. Well, a force of 7 kilograms with such a lever is not very much in principle, so everything will be great now. We continue to assemble our secondary shaft. We put on this oil deflector. The washer is installed well. That's how I look at it. This puck, but I had it standing like this, and this is how we will put it further. Here we put on the speedometer drive gear. It is installed here using. Well, it is fixed from turning into the pass. The ball is inserted here. Accordingly, there is a groove well. Also nothing complicated, everything was set. So we left first left here we have it tightened here it is twisted it remains to put the bearing. Put yes. I know you can put everything this way and now when we put on the back cover with this. With a T, this whole structure will be pressed like this, then it will be tightened with a nut and that's all. This whole structure will light up and hold on, there won't be any displacement. So we're left with one more moment that's all. When I carried out these operations there, I probably showed that it wasn't me who installed the gear then. What's the gear ball then now we'll put the top back cover on everything now we'll close it all. Check the surface under the gasket, look, put it on, and take a new gasket. Well. Lubricate it with mega sealant red water once. Fucking grip zone stupid fucking what oh it stinks so bad. Nenya, what a bummer. They wrote that he has no smell, he is a jackal, and here he is. Deceive the gasket so that it does not stick with grease or mass so that it does not stick. Pause set all now we have to do is install the cap. Ours again I will repeat the cap. There is a special one here. How all gaskets lithyl SMA litol 24 universal lubricant can be oil but. Oil it seems to me that it comes straight away, lithyl will still be better in this regard. Now look carefully here. There is a tide like this there, if you look at the special cutout, the cutout is specially designed for this end. Secondary shaft. It gets there and then we will have all this very well established, so look, we combine it, you can see yes. Yeah, I take it onto the tank like this. Yes, the lid falls into this tide and then it sits down, it sits with us. We hit the holes on the pin, it sits on the pin, you see everything now with us and I didn't show it. Damn, I'll show you now. Right away let's say guys one more thing I didn't show, it's just the bearing here it is installed in principle here. I put one like this here, the second one here but I still have it inside, I showed it before so that you definitely don't forget. It's important to install this because if this shaft stands without a bearing, it won't work, the speed will be knock out and eventually your box will fall apart. Here everything is short, you understand 2 bearings should be here. And here it's just that he took it out from me that well, I didn't take it out, by and large it got in there tightly. It's okay if you still have it. It's okay. We repeat the procedure again. We get into the gear into the hole in. Hole this same one and we end up on the stiletto's sun got on the spire here like this back and forth. Back and forth, tapping little by little. This is so that our bearing fits in. Well, the inner outer race of the bearing. Went into the lid, that's it, it went in with us and we tighten our TTS right away probably. Let's tighten it because to tighten this entire mechanism you can simply tap with a hammer. Lazy get up hammer find it's totally screwed I'm a loose mustache. They fit into the grooves. You see the washer is like the old model. The antennae were wide. I sawed them down. It wasn't even me who assembled them for me. Its new model has a secondary shaft with many teeth, but the old model has large teeth and few teeth. Well, In short, by and large, something is walking around. So there's not much difference, so pause. Put it like this up, put the washer and tighten the nut, we have a thread here in my opinion. Oh, the grail is 27, but the thread is small, by the way, tighten it. Well, as one of the reasons for the possible knocking out of the fifth there are some problems. This tightening must be tightened shorter with force. Which is written there in the book well, to be honest, it seems to me that this is stupidity, but I want to warn you that I'm going to drag it out now, in short, from the heart. But in general, people, well, I know. Says to pull the shaft bent, I don't know how it can bend there, yes it's long, I don't argue, yes the pressure of the Nuno nut will be on. It will be squeezed well, it's bent well, I'll personally tighten it, I don't have a metric torque wrench, I'll tighten it. How I can, and I can do it very well now, we'll find out how I can do not even 27 to 32 after all. Oh on 32 on Sue on 30 now, oh on 30 edge on 30 here edge on. 30 in order to tighten it, we fix it with a bolt, also without fanaticism, because after all, this is aluminum for us. Cover, by and large, I won't make any effort here, 150 kilograms you'll see I'm pulling here. Him gently well, a kilogram is no more. We must do everything, don't forget, do this for him right away. The most nut, how to say OTM nut on the edge of 2. Do the sides now and tighten the secondary shaft, but didn't screw the cover itself, cool eye. Boy, the lid is screwed on, the nut is all nuts on 8, there are no difficulties, there is only one nut. It's secret, don't forget, it's inside under the bottom cover during disassembly. Well, there's no 4-speed gearbox. And when disassembling for the first time, you can try to beat it for a very long time, well, not knowing that there is another nut there, well, just one pin. Let's tighten these nuts, let me pause so that I can tighten the time on this one. The lower bolt is this one. I wanted to show the stud so that they don't forget the same thing. The rock nut is fastened like this. I understand that. Did not press well from below, leaks if not installed. That's why the designers designed such a funny hairpin. I tightened everything. Hairpin probably, yes, let's get going now, here's the puck music. So with not very. Nor rivet is not music. The main problem is so as not to cut off the internal long-term use, it begins. Hanging around if there is a backlash won't help anything, then the aircraft will be here and it will eventually cut it off and, well, fly off. So let's immediately put a guide for another second T, the one that stands on this one. Here is the guide. It's just getting clogged up here. The landing of her is so pony press. This one is getting a little. Below the stop it becomes easy to hammer it all the way with whatever key you want. I don't have something. Somehow the key didn't work out for me today. Well, we'll do nothing. After all, everything is clogged there easily. Nothing complicated, just scored and forgot, scored and forgot. Now we need to install the locking ring right away. Here's the stopper. Yes, you can also just put it on with a screwdriver from me. There's a mega gob here right now. Mega gob cami. I'll wear everything, basically, without this sleeve. It will be sad for the guide to get there. Lubricate it all generously with summer because you see the lubricant. Washed it, squeezed it, beat it out, lubricate it won't hurt, and put on another rubber band like this here. The rubber band is so worth it. Steal the rubber band, Neva. The rubber band will not allow the vagina to get into this node. Well, it's not that much of a thing, it's not that much. It's right there. Let's put it in now. Speedometer drive means speedometer drive, the number of these teeth. Well, for a 5-speed gear, in short, it depends on the number of passes on the drive that is placed on the gear that is placed in. Well, in the VAZ box itself, in principle, a gasket is not needed, I guess. I'll take the Vika. I have red smelly sealant now. Where red smelly wasn't written, it wasn't smelly, but he's smelly. In short, we can use a pumice, just in case. That's where this rubber band goes. We can use his poma and he will remove the excess and act as a gasket. In addition, we have all this and plus as a lubricant. It will be easier for us to insert. This gasket will not bend in any way. It should probably be in place. The hairpin is still there. Well, apparently it didn't work out with the hairpin last time we assembled it, that's why. But usually the bolts are in aluminum, they don't screw in. Well, there's such a unit. Oh well, it's not really there. Demanding. In short, we put it on a bolt and still don't worry about it. Everything. Let's now have the most. A little, yeah, one more moment in the process of my, so to speak, games like. It's called with a shaft, not a shaft, but what is it called? In short, the fork rod for the 5th reverse gear. I saw it. I removed it there and inserted it, and before that, I had already dialed a fork in order to perform these operations on my behalf. It turned out I had to take out the ball that is on the 5th gear fork. I took it out. Well, watch carefully so that the barrel does not fall out. Oh, he can. You can see it falling out there. It means inserting the last one. Ball and screw it all tightly. Well, of course, we are now as always. Smelly sealant, although in principle it doesn't throw oil as such. Well, then we will exploit Molly. It will leak and climb there somewhere. Underpainting from it. If this is not done, we install the gears on the pole, talking springs thereon. These balls, there are no problems. Throw the ball on the side if you need it so that it is quickly removed from the fork so that the spring did not press on the pole, so it spins perfectly well. You saw it for yourself. I could easily pull it out. What is convenient for me to collect? The pole of the sun was twisted here. Forgot everything was ready here. Now we just have to install the drawstring. Well, that is, the handle. Switching like this, please pay attention before installation. You must have all the holes match up. You can see no speed will turn on. There will be kalyada so that 2 speeds are turned on so you can. Let's say when there are barrels and springs, you won't turn on the speed for sure, but as long as they don't stop, you can. Stick 2 barrels and put the springs in, it will jam, it will be impossible not to turn it on, not to turn it off, so now. You should be like this in something like this. Pay attention, this is how they should stand. Put a pause so that it doesn't last 2 hours. How am I going to lubricate? Insert everything like this, install it well, it's clear by analogy. In a car it will all be. Us and in general, how will it stand like this nano? As I understand it, this is how you see. Yes, here is the rocker switch, it should fit into the grooves here. There is, we combine everything, we are not in a hurry so that we don't have it, otherwise we crushed his head in 3 seconds here. Aluminum, everything is powerful, so again, yeah, we had washers here. Stubborn, as I understand it, there was also an engraver. And there were probably no engravers on top after all. Here you see the thrust washers, 2 of them, 2 nuts each, although in principle there is 1 nut. But this is often unscrewed for control purposes. A person came to see him more than once, it was unscrewed. The drawstring had to be dismantled from the interior, there was somehow an attempt to get in and such a misfortune happened. I guess even on the second. I'll screw the nut all the way onto the body just in case, maybe I won't screw it on. Therefore, in principle, here we have a link to install there, it was not possible to check. Our box does not work. Works now, let's see, it says so in neutral position. Here I am. I turn the input shaft. The secondary shaft does not spin. We turn on the speed 1 speed. No, this is not turned on. Here's the speed. Here's the speed. There's no mute. Here's the speed. There is also speed there as well. Now it's a little difficult to turn on. There is rear, fifth, wait, fifth, wear here because I don't have any oil in. We'll fill the box with oil at the last moment. They've tightened it, now let's get a couple more. We'll show you the nuances, so look here, the bracket is inserted. Fastening this very muffler this way, it is inserted into the bolt on this side from. It fits with a square hat well, it's branded, well, with a square one, it's like there's no regular one, we'll insert it and hold it if. That everything is tightened. Grover nut, just Grover nut. This is our reverse sensor here. It is specific, not the same as on a 4-speed, another ball is made therein. The distance between it and this fork is small, so it should be exactly as it should be. So we tighten everything, we screwed the muffler mounting bracket, now we install. The third engine support of a helicopter in common parlance means look at this little girl. It has a cutout so chosen not with the muffler mount from this plano. If they change the vert then the raised edge. It's on the muffler side. Well, that's how it is now. Now show it here. That's how I put it. You see, yes, here it is. Once again, and this is how it is installed. You can see everything is clear again. Fastening the nut BC. You can pause. I'll quickly tighten the sun. We installed the third support and take it off so that it can be seen. Yes, it's visible now. Yeah, now we'll install it. An elastic coupling, whether on the right or on the left, is installed the same way. In principle, I would have a video there. For installation, well, let me see. The bolt is placed from below. It turns out from the side. This very T. These are the protrusions that go into the T. Now we'll try to bait it. We don't have a clamp here, so maybe this operation will be very similar. As a sexual connotation, let's say so. In short context, I'll be talking to you right now. So put it on pause. If it works, we'll show you later. You see, we raise it higher like this and then the elastic band. The rubber band allows for some movement and we can simply knock out the bolts, although of course for the initial. Elastic coupling, it comes straight with a clamp. It's tightened like that. Well, we don't have it. New, here's a little inconvenience caused by the bolt on top of the nuts jammed. They just stand there. The nut is tightened without someone in a hurry. That's what the nuts are installed. Self-controlling music. He often. Basically it breaks, oil doesn't flow. Well, it should start flowing. I don't know, it should create something like that therein. This very well. Now I'll turn the box over and I'll be there. Playing around, pouring oil in there, screwing the cap on at this moment. If it had holes, it wouldn't leak. I'm doing it right now. I'm telling you, I'll put it on now. I'll pierce it with a screwdriver and you can see what it's like. S's, that's why those who have a Zhiguli don't get bored. There is never always something to keep yourself busy. Yes, I'm kidding. The Lada is a very reliable car, a little outdated of course. But really press it. Let's put the nuts on quickly. We'll see guys, I wanted to show you how the gearbox works. Look. Well, check so that all these can be done, which means that we have one overrunning clutch and the second, they will move forward. Turning on the speed, it will either move down or up and, accordingly, turn on the one we need. Take the speed from here. I'm filming now. We've turned it on. Here we've turned it on. Which one we have there? Raise speed. The fourth one has turned on. This is the first one. The second one has turned on. Well, apparently, yes. Second, fifth stage, we don't see reverse. They're hidden here. Everything works. Everything turns on. Fill up the oil. That means. Well, I'll probably add oil right away so as not to worry. Then we'll check the control horn to make sure it's in place. It's screwed on and now I'll assemble it right away. I'll wipe everything off. I'll get everything ready and we'll fill it up, which means the volume. Filling volume liter 600 recommended. In short, look, you have 3 liters should be enough for the bridge. Well, for the rear axle and for the 3-liter tannic box, it turns out how much 300 liter goes to the axle, 600 liter or 700 to the box. By and large, if there is a little overflow there, it won't be fatal. I suspect so. Well, it will be there. On top of it there. Honestly, I don't remember that the box somehow splashes out there, not fatally crushing. A little in oil in general, a liter of 600 in theory. It should be like this according to the book, yes, and in life you should enter now. Son, pause. Bye. So guys, now look, I'll check later. Basically, exchange on this very thing. We fill the neck everywhere so it can only leak out here. Via breather, we have the breather well, in short, it won't leak from us. If it leaks, a little bit of it will leak out, a little bit literally. We'll get it right now quickly. Put a lid on the lid, screw it on, and everything will be great. Well, somewhere around here, probably a liter of 600 I had oil. This is the volume you can see. Yes. How much is there now? We put the top cover, the bottom cover is attached to us. Studs on the lubricant as if the basement pulled a tea room. Kato, what is it where we won't put the cap any other way so if suddenly it doesn't match? Make sure that the drain neck is closed and the lid is made on. The cone, therefore, because of this it does not leak, you just tightened it more and the cone completely blocks the hole. Cool, everything is fastened with a Grover nut. Well, one of mine turned off and got unscrewed. Now I'll show you the rest of the Grover nuts. Like Rovero R nut, there is no difficulty, I won't bore you. The process of tightening everything is, in principle, about assembling a 5-speed gearbox. I think everything will be clear to you. If some points remain unclear, yes, I think everything will be clear. There's nothing complicated about it, it's all a box. Collected, subscribe to the channel, like, write comments, all the best, Rubai.